Tapestry with Miriam on Fusing Who Am I and Crystal Care Group are collaborating on a documentary series called Ageless Legacy. Ageless Legacy is a lifelong journey of seniors in our communities. We want to find out what has been happening with them, where they are at, how they have coped in this COVID-19 pandemic. Introduce yourself to our viewers and just tell them who you are and what you're doing.
Yes, my name is Beverly Domain. I am from Jamaica. I have been living in Canada for over 31 years. I am a mother of 2 sons and 2 grandsons. And I love it here in Canada, and that's why I'm here.
I'm a retired social worker, and I've worked for Alberta Health Services in the past, and for frontline agencies, nonprofit agencies, which was probably the best kind of work that I could have ever done.
I moved from Nigeria to Jamaica, then to the US, and then to here, where we finally settled. And my cultural value, my values and background is a combination of all that, including things acquired in training.
I was a teacher in Calgary for many years. I was a physics teacher in high schools for 25 years. During that period, I took a leave of absence from the Calgary Board of Education, spent 2 years teaching in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam. It was a very rewarding experience, and I think education was good to me.
I'm a Nigerian Canadian citizen. I'm a senior citizen. I have a family here. I'm a married, happy man with 3 children and a grandchild.
I don't remember my life being significant in another way other than my desire that there's something bigger than the village. And to have gone from the village to the district city, as it were, and then to the capital city of Nairobi, and then finding myself in Canada several years later, it's something even me, I look back and say, how did that happen?
I was going to the University of Alberta. I started in business. I found that economics was much more interesting than business. But by the time I finished my undergraduate degree, I decided I wanted to go farming. And so I did a master's degree in agricultural economics.
Okay.
And during that time, we got married. But at the end of that, we moved to the farm.
Yes, I was born in Grenada, in Carriacou. And I went to England when I was 9 years old.
How was it like? Were you the first person to come here?
Yes.
How was it like? What was the experience of you coming?
Lonely. I didn't like it when I first came here. It was just me and came from England with my kids.
It's really a funny story how I ended up there. There was a lot of TB in the Northwest Territories, a lot of patients coming from there. I think I was around 5 years old, and they took me to the hospital with a jeep, but I didn't understand where they were taking me, what they were doing it. When we were there, we were tied down with a little harness to our beds from behind. And so when it was time for me to leave, I had to learn how to walk again.
What was your inspiration to get into medical? Was your grandfather inspiration to you?
I didn't want to be a nurse, and I didn't want to be a teacher.
So you were just in the middle.
That was sort of it. And I did some. You could go in and work in the hospital, on holidays, school holiday, or over the summer holidays, and they would ask for people to come in. So I worked in the lab, and I was interested in that.
I was born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica. I came here in Canada in 1978, and been up in Edmonton here since 1984. I have raised four children and 9 grandchildren, as well as several foster children that have gone in and out of my home. I am a real estate agent by profession. I was by profession originally an accountant, but I venture into real estate, and this is where I'm at right now, and this is something that I'm passionately in love with.
I personally was in foster care for a year and a half. I was legally kidnapped in front of my grandmother when I was 14. I remember her chasing after the car when the child welfare workers was driving away with me from Peace River. But you know, I was 14 years old, and my foundation as a Cree person had already been set. They weren't going to crack it. And believe me, they tried. They chipped away at it pretty darn good. But you know what? My foundation, because the way I grew up, my grandparents had taken me from my mother and raised me. So every day, the first 14 years of my life, every day I'm a Cree person, living with Cree people.
Arriving here from Africa, the challenges are quite often across the board to everyone. There are just few minor changes in terms of how you accept the duality of who you are, in terms of the country of origin and your new home. Quite often you hear people say you have to adapt, but then later on you find out that you have to be who you are. So we're not asking you to completely abandon your country of origin, but rather to show it, which is the beauty of this country, that we each come here and represent our country. In other words, we are ambassadors to whichever country of origin we come from. And that's why diversity is an important aspect of the Canadian history.
So you like the diversity?
I love the diversity because it allows me to be who I am. So Canada is not a melting pot where you come and everybody behaves the same way. But it's a country, our beauty is in our diversity. Our beauty is in our diverse cultures. So what is culture if you could bring it here and you don't use it?
There seemed to be one that runs right across life. From when I was young, as a mother, I still am a mother, I'm a grandmother. So I find that more of my life, even now, evolve more around family, really. It's more than a mother figure or hen, as it were, but it's really a family situation that is very consistent all through.
I enjoyed my teaching in East Africa. It was a very rewarding experience. The students were very attentive. The learning methodology was a little bit different from what I'd been used to in North America. Much more memorization in some cases.
Yes.
But the students were very receptive. Intensity at that time, there was 1 seat in a high school for every 17 eligible students.
Yeah.
So there were just so many that did not have the opportunity to go to secondary school. So there was no discipline issues in the Tanzanian high school where I was. If there were any incidents of discipline, the headmaster had the student on the bus, go back home, you're done, you're finished. So it was no, there was really no nonsense. And it was, from that point of view, it was a very nice teaching environment.
The first year that I started farming, I had a friend invite me to give a lecture or do some teaching at the university. And that occurred just at the time that harvest was over. So I said, we can do this, you know, I can fit that in. So I started teaching a little bit and very quickly decided that, gee, maybe I would like to rather be a professor than be a farmer. So shortly thereafter, after a few years at the farm, I left the farming to my brother and my dad, and we went off to graduate school at Cornell University.
Yeah.
And so I got my PhD there, ambitions of being a professor. I got an appointment at the University of Wisconsin, and then got an appointment at the U of A, which is home. That was where I started.
All of a sudden I remembered my younger brother. I'm the oldest of 8 children Mom had, and I remembered one of my younger brothers dying on the streets, run over 2 times on the road before somebody realized there was a human body on the road. And he ended up the way his life went because of the 60s school. Bounced around from foster home to group home to foster home, in between our mom and foster home. It was brutal. And so that was how his life ended. So that day I was at the legislature with my friend Sharon and her other friends. That was the first day I realized I am a 60 scoop survivor. I personally was in foster care for a year and a half. I was legally kidnapped in front of my grandmother when I was 14. I remember her chasing after the car when the child welfare workers was driving away with me from Peace River. But you know, I was 14 years old, and my foundation as a Cree person had already been set. They weren't going to crack it. Prior to that day, I was legally kidnapped by child welfare. My whole world was a Cree world. We had some of the traditions. We followed as much of the traditions as we possibly could in the white man's world. So my whole life. And then when I was 14, and the day I was taken by the child welfare worker, and the lame excuse they gave for taking me from my grandmother was my grandparents were too old to finish raising a wayward 14-year-old, such as myself. I mean, I was a wild kid, but you know what? I knew where I belonged. I knew who I was.
That's me. That's who I am. Very transparent. Who you see is what you see is what you get. I have learned over the years to be more graceful in how I portray myself and not being forceful. So with that being said, you know, I think carefully and act accordingly as how I would want other people react to me.
Phoned my father to send me a ticket to go back. I didn't want to stay. I didn't like it one little bit. My father gave me a month, said try it for a month and see what happened. And within that month, I find a job, started working, get a daycare for the kids, which it was very hard, and started working and I started making friends. And I met a very nice lady from Trinidad. She was living in the same building with me. I think because of her, and she was alone too and lonely, so we did it together. And phoned my father and say, okay, I'm gonna try, I'm gonna stay and see what goes on.
Life lessons, and one of it is the idea that we do better when we come together. for the first time, we begin to look at life differently. We begin to look at life like something to cherish, something to hang on to, something to fight for, something to die for. We don't take life for granted since COVID-19. We begin to see the value of friendship, the value of family, the value of brotherly love, the value of community. See, all these things, we used to take them for granted. But COVID have made us realize that these things are important. These things are lifelines.
Never give up. Never give up trying to recover from whatever addictions you are using. Never give up because one day you'll get it. One day you'll get it. You'll grasp what it is you need, and then you can move forward in recovery. That's a beautiful thing.
I'm someone that if I fail, I don't just stop at failing or let it define me. I'll go back and make sure
You continue.
I continue. And that's resilience.
We are too busy as the first generation. I'm just hoping that the next generation doesn't repeat what I call foolishness, for lack of a better word. Because we really are keeping looking back where we came from. That I desire that people grow up and know this is home, this is Canada.
I think Creator blessed me with this disease so that I could slow down and just stop for a while, just stop and do some soul searching. I really believe that, because if I didn't have this, I'd be, here and there and drinking and doing it, whatever. But I believe I was made to stop and stand still and look at my life. And I believe that I will get a double lung transplant. I do believe that.
Number one, be honest. In everything you do, be honest. Be honest and live peaceably with all men. And that's something that I've integrated in my career as well as in my family, and letting my children know, regardless of what the situation is, be transparent, be honest. And when you're being honest, we can work through whatever comes our way. Honesty and communication, and respect is what we abide by.
I don't give advice. I take direction from them. I'm their grandmother. I take direction from them. But, if they're struggling with addictions, or they're struggling with, or they're even struggling with their achievements, it's not an easy task going to the university, or to be a tradesperson, or to even be a mom or a dad, right? People have these struggles. I just tell them, just stay focused.
Young people of today have such a challenge because there's so much bombardment with different ideas and that they have to choose from. And one of the things that most African people have constantly looked at is education. And we look at education as something that we have to memorize. That, somebody asks you something and then you pour it out. But education is supposed to prepare us how to think. And that's something that we have to come to grips with. That education is not just about, memorizing a concept, but it's rather how to think critically and analyze things. And that's one aspect of education that we seem to be missing within our community.
Perhaps back home, the way things were already done is the way you're expected to keep doing them. But in this culture, it is more like, if there's a new way of doing it, even if that new way is being introduced by a child, we want to hear it. And not, oh, you're a child, don't talk, or you're a woman, don't talk. It's more like, let's hear that opinion. If it's a good idea, we'll consider it.
What I see as a problem, and I hope for our generation, and I hope it's not copied, is that we tried to replicate what we had in abroad, where we came from.
There's education comes in many forms, and university is one avenue that people can take, and it's not the only avenue by any means. I mean, whether you're learning skilled trades, or whether some of it is just life learning and you're acquiring sometimes credentials along the way, or whether you follow a very academic into a profession like accounting, dentistry, medical.
I would say that to get your education, because you just can't live without your education, especially coming south. But more of what's happening here could be happening back at home. So you'll have to have your education. If you want a good job, if you want to plan for your future, it's all about education, because we can't live on the land anymore.
Everything the younger generation is being taught by us or by those who taught us were things that were optimized for dealing with the problems we confront and the problems our parents confronted and the problems their parents confronted. So when we teach our children, I think we mean well, but we're in error of preparing them for a world that we knew. Their world is coming, and the tools they need for the future are going to be adapted for the kind of problems they're going to meet, which some of us can't even envisage.
One of the things I did do that I always dreamed about was go to university. I made it to the U of A. I didn't stay, but the cool thing about that was I made it there. And I found out that, you know what, I can do anything. If I want to do it, I can do anything. And one of the best things anyone ever told me about life was this. One day, this friend of mine, he said to me, you know, Kathy, you don't have to be a genius to be at university. He said, you just have to be able to work hard.
I would say to the next generation, you are in technology world. Make a list of what you would like to achieve in life and go for it. Go for your goals, make your goals. You have to write it. If you don't write it, it's not a goal. Invest. It doesn't matter how much money you have, invest. You will see the results later down.
I don't believe in retirement at all. I believe that I will be able to keep going and giving and doing. I don't like sitting down and not having something to do or something to go out and fulfill.
Well, one thing that I have noticed, I've started to tell younger people that I've come in contact with, is to make sure you think about retirement. Make sure you have a plan for retirement, because life just slips and passes you by. And if you don't put money away for when you're elderly, then life can get pretty tough. You know, when I was younger, I never thought that life would end. I never thought I'd get old. And when you're youthful and you're attractive and you're a woman, doors open so much quicker. If I was thinking way back when I was younger, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now. Even if you just put $100 away every payday, that it'll add up, and don't touch it no matter what happens. Because 22 and soon you'll be 62. Like, it just goes by so fast.
Can you share some of the values that have guided you that are significant to your life?
There are so many things that will guide one to prosperity, but one that I've hung on to is the idea that as human beings, bad things happen to us. We have bad experiences. And quite often, the bad experiences are not the ones we plan for. It just happened by accident. And so what we plan to do, or that which we have control of, is to have the intention to do good. So the intent to do good is a major aspect of my life.
My main motivation, I guess, would be own your job. I really think that's important. Own your job. Be accountable for it. Don't work like somebody who needs constant supervision. You know, take ownership.
Responsibility and ownership.
Take responsibility. Be accountable, and get up every day.
Yeah.
And say, today's the first day of the rest of my life.
I am bold. I'm not afraid of anybody. My leadership is that which we call boldness. I'm very courageous. And I'm not afraid to take tough decisions and look at you in the face and tell you this is exactly what I thought was best.
I guess what you learn through life is that the importance of the golden rule. You know, do unto others, etc., etc.
Yes, yes.
And basically be kind.
Yes,
be kind
important.
To people. And I don't think I've actually lived up to that as well as I would like to have.
Oh, that's nothing.
Well, no, but we all, you know, I think we've all made some mistakes, and not necessarily intentionally.
Yeah.
But you look back at it and said, I could have handled that situation better.
Better than, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And but we strive to do our best.
It's very, very important that we don't leave our culture behind. And there are so many good things here we have to learn. Take the good ones here. Take the good ones back from home. Put them together, and I think you can be a better person to yourself and back home too.
You have to have your values too when you live on the land. You got to be very honest, very caring, and willing to share. I think Native people, they don't have, there's a lot of people don't have bank accounts because we don't save money. If there's somebody that needs help, we'll give them whatever, you know, food or whatever, or money.
They say forcibly removed, right? But we know what that means. It means that they kidnapped us. What does forcibly removed mean, right? We went against our will. Our parents didn't just let us go. So, you know, with the 60 scoop, the federal, provincial governments and the rest of the Canadians, because it's not just people say, oh, the government. But it was the Canadians who made it, who allowed it to happen. Who was taking in the foster children? Who was adopting us? So anyways, with the 60 scoop, they took more children during that time than they ever had in the residential schools. They were determined to kill the Indian in every child. There's more children now, right now, in foster care than there ever were during the 60s scoop. Because it's intergenerational. From the residential school, language, culture, everything was taken, right? Was our children, our ancestors were robbed of everything. Yeah. And not only that, but they were violated in such violent ways. Yeah. And they took that home. And then they passed it on to us. My mother wasn't a residential school, neither was I. My grandmother was. And my grandmother inflicted a lot of the same violence on my mother and my uncles and aunties that was inflicted on her in the residential schools. So my mother didn't have the traditional parenting skills to be the loving, nurturing mother that she wanted to be and should be. So it was repeated. So when I became a mother, even though I swore up and down I would not treat my children that way, I did. And my children ended up in foster care briefly.
To believe in yourself, to reach out for help when you need help, to be assertive when you need to be assertive, to find a connection with something greater than yourself.
Coming from a background that I have come from, where I believe the women are stronger in my life more than the men. Stronger, I have a very strong grandmother, and my mom was extremely strong as well. We don't believe in setbacks. So therefore, these are some of the things, even with having my children here and raising my children here, that, you know, I had to raise them to the point that don't let color stop you from being who you ought to be. Because we are children of the universe, and we have a right to be wherever God has placed us to be. So don't let these discrimination be a setback to you. You rise above that.
So what guided you in your life to have such values?
My parents.
Okay.
My mom and dad, especially my dad. They called me a daddy's girl because I would sit and have conversation with my dad. And, you know, he would say to me things like, in life, you have to work for what you want. The other thing he said to me, if you see something that you want to buy, save the money for it and buy it.
In the area of being a foster parent, I think carefully as well about that, because what happened is, as I go along in my daily business of life, coming here as an immigrant to this country, as an immigrant, and to have the achievements and successes, raise my children, and the achievements and successes that my children have had over the years, I felt it in my heart that I should be giving back to this country. And the only way I could give back is embracing foster children, and taking in children to show them that there are people out there that cares, people out there that loves, and that, you know, that at least they can know that, you know, there are people that would show them love, would open their homes to them and embrace them and make a change in their life. One of the biggest things and achievements that we are very proud of is to know that with these children, the government says they can't, and we believe they can.
Yes.
So we showed them that way of saying, yes, you can.
When you think about your parents, you think about all what they went through to raise you. That's one of the reasons I quit drinking. I was thinking about my parents, and I thought that, my parents did all this for me, and I'm just making a fool out of myself down the street, and that didn't sit good with me.
I guess in recent years, very recently, there has been some aspirations and hopes and dreams that have turned out quite differently. Insofar as 15 months ago, my wife died, and we had plans to do some traveling and for some other activities, and it just didn't happen. But, you know, it was interesting. My wife died a week after COVID started, or a week before COVID started. So she never experienced COVID. I never had to go through the agony of not being able to visit her and all of that thing. So I decided that I had to continue with my outlook.
Yeah.
Today is the first day of the rest of my life. I lost my wife.
Yeah.
But there was nothing to be gained by looking at it negatively.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I kind of looked at it positively, because she had a year of very aggressive cancer where I looked after her at home, and she really never had any pain. I adopted the attitude right away that today is the first day of the rest of my life, and I'm going to make it the best it can be.
My most seminal achievement will be family, will be being able, the other day we celebrated our 30th marriage anniversary. Yeah, that is one of my biggest achievements. We're raising 3 children to become sound and responsible members of society. And that will be something I want to be proud of.
Very grateful and proud of my children, especially my great-grandmother. A very big achievement for me. I never thought I would live to see great-grandchildren.
Number one, the most achievement I made in my life, I built a strong family for myself and for my children. I have a very successful marriage. I have 3 children, 3 adult children, and a grandson.
My achievement that I would like to remember gladly would be my contribution to society, my contribution in the community, volunteering, community organizing. Some of the things I achieved there are also things that I'm really happy about.
When you see pictures of your grandchildren, or when you hear somebody call you grandpa, you can't buy it. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You can't buy that. Those are the blessings. And when your cup is full, you get grandchildren, and then you get great-grandchildren. And so that to me, every day I said, I'm living, but I've already become an ancestor.
Here in Canada, it's good. I actually contracted a COVID, but thankfully, when I was in Canada, there is that assurance that I can go to the hospital, that the healthcare system works. That was very comforting. I could take a phone and call, and I would get the information that is useful that I can work with.
One thing, speaking about COVID, which I think is really important, is how quickly and how much people came together in this country to try to address the problems.
Yes.
The economic problems, particularly the people that were in economic difficulty. There was a tremendous effort made, and it was done very quickly.
Yes.
And I think quite successfully, although we can always point to, problems.
Yeah.
But I think it's a credit to Canada in terms of how well the country has come together and dealt with the issues.
So one of the good things it did for me was to now reprioritize for me as to what is important to me, what is important to my family from my perspective, in what other ways can I serve my family rather than just be going out there and making money.
The pace in life that I used to go with has slowed down, because that has slowed down other people as well that I would be relating to. So that has slowed down a bit. But however, even though it has slowed down, it gives me time enough to spend some time in the Word, as well as do reading, as well as building a stronger relationship with my husband.
In everything there is good, positive, and negative. So somehow it really helps us to look back and say, oh, how have we been taking care of our personal hygiene? So many people are now very conscious about that. In fact, some are cleaning freak. You touch it, they wipe away, that kind of a thing.
I'm sick and tired of COVID like you are.
Yeah.
And like all of these people are.
Yes.
It's been a terrible pandemic.
Yeah.
But we have to face it, and we have to face it and try to face it optimistically.
Yes.
To look at it negatively won't do any of us any good, really.
One of the lessons we learned from the pandemic is that the little things of life are often ignored for the big shiny objects. One of the little things are actually the people you sleep and wake with every day. These people are really super important in our lives. These are the ones we often overlook. These are the ones we talk down at. These are the ones we don't dress up or make up or look fine when we are hanging out with them. It's only when we want to go out that we dress up and make up and put on the thing. But when we are home, we look like, the people
look ordinary.
Let me not go too far.
Yes.
The people at home are super important. Social well-being, mental well-being. These are the people that we interact with most.
Without the COVID, we never thought that even somebody visiting you is a big thing. Now you realize, oh my goodness. So you realize the importance of friendship, the value of family, the connectedness of each of us as brothers and sisters, how I am who you are, how I'm here because of you, and vis-a-vis. So it is no longer about money, because you can have all the money you have. COVID can take you out the same way. You can have all the education you have, COVID can take. So we see that we are vulnerable.
It was hard because my husband got Parkinson and dementia. And at the time, we used to have a caregiver coming in to help take care of him and things. And then they had stopped. So then I become a caregiver. And it was hard. I never experienced anything like it. I had my son and my daughter they was on the lockdown with us, so my son, they was a big help. I don't know if I could have go through it if it was just the two of us. I couldn't do it alone. I couldn't do it alone. It had taken a toll on my health. That's what I find. I couldn't sleep properly because I have to look out for him, not leaving, not leaving the house. And sometimes we just catch him just in time before he walk out the door.
The pandemic was very, very devastating for many. Many people lost lives. Many people lost jobs. Many people suffered marriage breakdown that we cannot recover from. And some had mental, psychological problems arising from the seclusion, especially our youth.
The pandemic actually brought us kind of to almost a similar level. Whether you were in Kenya or you were here in Canada, you were locked down. You couldn't do what you wanted. You couldn't plan, wake up, and go.
If I were in Africa, the things that stress me may not stress me, because being here when the COVID came, I'm thinking, my goodness, will I be able to see my promised land before I'm called from this earth? It's something that stressed me a lot. Would I be able to see, my brothers and sisters back home before I'm called over? So it stressed me. But if I were to be in Africa, I'm home.
The time that I spent in Kenya, but people are obedient. They really want to obey, to observe the restrictions, but they cannot because of they have to go out there and earn a living.
When I just lost a friend to cancer. He'd been in the hospital for the better part of a year. His wife couldn't visit him.
Yeah.
And I was spared that.
Yeah.
I feel so fortunate, know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say, I feel so fortunate, but I do. It would have been terrible not to have been able to...
Not to visit your wife.
To visit my wife once she was so sick.
My daughter keep phoning. They help people, healthcare people to see, and they get him placed in a home. They get him there. They came, because he had he had run away for too often, so they had was to put him. First, he ended up in the hospital because he fall and hurt himself real bad, and he set the house on fire because he just used to go and turn on everything, or turn the water and leave it running. He couldn't understand, when a baby, you keep telling, have to look after them. It's just so. After that, we get in place in our home. So it's still there, but and then we placed him in there, but we couldn't get to go and see him, and that even made it worse because now we can't see him. We do a lot of FaceTime, and all he used to ask is, come and pick me up. I'm ready to go home. The doctor said, fine, I could go home now.
Is it better now that he's away from the house, or do you still feel that emptiness?
Not emptiness, I just feel like guilty that, I should bring him back home. I feel real guilty. We went to see him today, spend time with him, and then when we was leaving, he thinks he was leaving too. So he's telling them thanks for all they have done for him, and he always think, okay, I'm leaving. So thank you guys very much for everything, for your hospitality. But he's leaving now. I always think he's leaving when we go visit, and that is hard as well because we have to leave him there.
Do you think there were, even especially during the lockdown, there were adequate services to help seniors in the community to get around and maybe navigate through things during that time? Do you think the seniors were looked after well?
No, not at all. And even looking at it from this point of view, even right now, I believe that seniors in this country, it doesn't matter race, color, or creed, I believe seniors in this country are the left behind people.
As a senior, as a grandmother as well, what technology did you use to get in touch with your people?
If I tell you, Miriam, we can't underestimate the power of this technology. And we personally appreciate what is happening because, but for this technology, with this pandemic, things would have been, people would have been like.
We stay connected via WhatsApp. WhatsApp is my #1 connection with family, both in the US, Jamaica, because everybody's have download WhatsApp so we can talk on WhatsApp.
And video call?
Yes,
WhatsApp?
Yeah. My grandsons would say, Grandma, I want to see in the house. So I would show him around. So we do video call, we talk, just one-on-one. But yes, I that's one of my ways of communicating. I have all these because I decided, technology is the way to go. So I have an Instagram account. I have Twitter, but Twitter was not. I have, what do you call it now?
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn account, which I use a lot too. So there I had a lot of interactions with people, who are doing business online and all these things. So I've used these technologies too.
I use Zoom a lot, not as a host, but I participate in Zoom meetings a lot. We have I really have a chance to see my grandchildren once a week. Every Sunday night we have a Zoom call after dinner, and I see the grandkids, my daughter,
nice.
my son-in-law. We do it every week, and it's just almost like, well, not quite, but it's almost like being there, But as a Zoom user, I found it fantastic. It's something I can handle easily, and I find it really user-friendly.
Yes.
And I actually enjoy Zoom meetings. Not as much as face-to-face with people, of course, but it's been a great technology.
One of the interesting things is that what has happened during the pandemic is that we now have all kinds of webinars.
Yes.
And you get to listen to speakers who you otherwise wouldn't be able to listen to.
Yeah.
Or rarely listen to. And you get to go to conferences you wouldn't be able to go to. This has just mushroomed, and it's provided me, anyway, it provides me with whole venue of things
Things
that
to do.
you know just are much greater than what existed before. Because before, you know, you go to your seminars in at the university, and you'd have a guest speaker in, or graduate students speaking or something like that. But now you can go anywhere and listen to people from anywhere. So it's just filled in a great gap and added more opportunities.
How do you filter the information that you get out of there?
Oh, it was very, very difficult. I have what I call my inner gauge. And thank God for the ability to cross-check information, especially the disinformation on COVID. And then for some people, extrapolating that into a religious perspective was very, very irritating to me. And I remember I had to literally remove myself from Facebook because I was fighting too much with a lot of people whom I did not agree with, because to me it's like, how can you not see that this is foolishness?
My information, I always use YouTube. And from YouTube, I find information. From there, there's private news groups that I just go on there just to explore, to find out exactly what's going on. Because the news, the regular news do not give you the truth. That was something I found out.
I think government have good information, and they have experts working with government. Any other information out there on social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, people actors creating some unnecessary fear on people about how to come out, to succeed in this COVID pandemic. I wasn't paying attention to them. I get them from WhatsApp, from Facebook, but I don't pay attention to them. But I trust that the government are working seriously to end this pandemic, and my only information was to get it directly from the government source.
But there is a lot of disinformation.
Yes.
Mixed messages out there.
Out there, yes.
And, one has to sort through that. And I think especially on the social media, there's lots of misinformation.
Yeah.
So you have to give it your gut test in terms of, does it seem realistic or not?
Yeah.
And of course, with the Google and all the other search mechanisms, you can check up on things if you need to or want to.
Yeah.
And there are reliable sources. You have to sort out the reliable sources.
Yes.
But lots of misinformation, but I think we've been relatively good about being able to sort through the good from the bad, the good from the bad.
I struggle with it, and hands-on, I do the best I can, because the only way you can hear a voice is through technology. To call your grandchild, your daughter, your son, your nephew, your friend, it's through technology. But I think that moving forward, I would suggest that we begin to have programs that can train or provide basic computer knowledge to seniors.
You know what I say? I sat at a microscope for many years.
And you don't.
And I don't care to sit in front of a screen very much.
I want to know, during this pandemic, you have grandchildren or what? Have you been
I have one grandchild.
Zoom, FaceTime with them?
No, I don't touch anything. I just say, if you want to text me, don't text me. I want to hear your voice. It's bad enough we're all separated. I want to hear your voice.
Are there days when I'm lonesome? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's bound to be.
Yes.
But Again, you have to try to look at it as positively as you can.
Positive, yeah. Just to be positive.
And when you get to be 80 years old, you got to make even more effort to stay healthy and active and stay involved, you know?
Yeah.
Because you don't know how long you got left, eh?
Having that voice, especially that voice for those seniors.
Never hesitate to stand up for justice. It doesn't matter who it is. Always stand up for justice.
Every day when I go to bed, I only think about the young people. But young people, I have a moral responsibility. And they give me the meaning of life. They make me feel like every day I want to get up and do things.
As somebody who set out humbly and was not deterred by that, and actually can say you can pretty much be what you want, for real.
Mom that always did cooking all this curry for them, and I tried teaching them how to cook the dishes that they like. So every time they cook one, they'll remember me.
Great, great. Cooking. I love food. Good food.
Want to be remembered from the work I did in the past and the work I'm still doing now. When you are happy, it makes me happy. So whatever I do to put anybody's smile on the face, it makes me happy. And that's my goal. That's what I'm still working on. That's what I've been doing.
Get yourself educated. The education doesn't stop when you leave high school or you leave college. It's a continuous thing. Educate yourself.
There was always this tendency in our cultures to either choose success or truth. So to prosper or to be honest, to be respectful, respect human dignity, or to be seen as a powerful man. I want to be remembered as somebody who demonstrated that you can have integrity and still be successful.
I think I have to be remembered based upon how I make people feel. Because, you can do anything, how you make people feel is very important.
When you make people happy and they're happy, it gives you more encouragement to do more.
You gain a lot by, I would say, you gain a lot by helping people.
Yes.
It's a legacy you will give to whoever, even your family, to reach out. Because at the end of the day, it's not how well you lived, or it will be how well you assisted people. That you're a big person or do that, or you've never helped somebody, you've not started. You have to show that love, kindness, which is what even God asks us to do, show love and kindness.
I would like to be remembered as having done a significant amount of volunteer work.
Yeah.
I'd like to be remembered as kind, as a good friend. And I'd like people to be able to say, I think Dick made the world a better place than when he came here. And
Good.
if people can say that about me,
awesome.
I'll be happy.